Question 1. What is the primary role of the Florida Real Estate Commission, FREC, in regulating real estate practices? A. To provide financial assistance to real estate agents. B. To regulate and enforce educational standards. C. To oversee and enforce real estate law and regulations. D. To focus exclusively on commercial real estate transactions. Answer: C. To oversee and enforce real estate law and regulations. Explanation: the primary role of the FREC is to oversee and enforce real estate law and regulations in Florida, ensuring that real estate practices are conducted in a fair and lawful manner. Question 2. Define blockbusting in the context of real estate practices. A. Upgrading a neighborhood by investing in property renovations. B. The practice of persuading owners to sell property cheaply due to the entry of a protected class. C. Building large residential blocks in urban areas. D. Selling multiple adjacent properties to a single buyer. Answer: B. The practice of persuading owners to sell property cheaply due to the entry of a protected class. Explanation: blockbusting is an illegal practice in real estate where owners are persuaded to sell their properties at a lower price due to the fear of a protected class moving into the neighborhood. Question 3. Describe the legal implications of a broker operating as a transaction broker in Florida. A. They represent neither the buyer nor the seller. B. They can only represent buyers in transactions. C. They have the same obligations as an attorney. D. They are responsible for negotiating on behalf of the seller only. Answer: A. They represent neither the buyer nor the seller. Explanation: as a transaction broker in Florida, a broker provides limited representation to a buyer, a seller, or both in a real estate transaction, but does not represent either in a fiduciary capacity. Question 4. Explain the concept of homestead exemption in Florida property law. A. A tax deduction for first-time homebuyers. B. A reduction in property taxes for primary residences. C. Exemption from all property taxes. D. An exemption only for agricultural properties. Answer: B. A reduction in property taxes for primary residences. Explanation: the homestead exemption in Florida property law allows homeowners to claim a reduction in property taxes on their primary residence, reducing the taxable value of the home. Question 5. What constitutes a legal description of property in Florida? A. The property's street address. B. A description that uniquely identifies a property based on government surveys. C. The physical appearance and characteristics of the property. D. A description provided by the real estate agent. Answer: B. A description that uniquely identifies a property based on government surveys. Explanation: a legal description of property in Florida is a way to identify property uniquely based on government surveys, metes and bounds, or lot and block, which is distinct from the property's street address. Question 6. Scenario: Jane, a licensed broker, receives a deposit from a client. What must she do with these funds according to Florida law? A. Immediately transfer it to her personal account. B. Use it to cover her agency's operating expenses. C. Place it in a non-interest-bearing account until closing. D. Deposit it into an escrow account within a specified time frame. Answer: D. Deposit it into an escrow account within a specified time frame. Explanation: in Florida, when a licensed broker like Jane receives a deposit from a client, she must deposit it into an escrow account within a specified time frame, as stipulated by state law, to ensure the funds are protected. Question 7. How does the Florida Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Act impact real estate advertising? A. It promotes the use of aggressive advertising tactics. B. It prohibits deceptive, unfair, or unconscionable trade practices in advertising. C. It requires all real estate ads to be in English only. D. It mandates the inclusion of the agent's photo in all advertisements. Answer: B. It prohibits deceptive, unfair, or unconscionable trade practices in advertising. Explanation: the Florida Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Act impacts real estate advertising by prohibiting deceptive, unfair, or unconscionable practices, ensuring that all advertising is honest and transparent. Question 8. What is the difference between a general warranty deed and a quitclaim deed in Florida real estate? A. A general warranty deed transfers ownership with no guarantee, while the quitclaim deed comes with a warranty. B. A general warranty deed provides a full warranty of clear title, while a quitclaim deed has no such warranty. C. A general warranty deed is used for commercial properties, while the quitclaim deed is for residential properties. D. There is no difference. Both are the same. Answer: B. A general warranty deed provides a full warranty of clear title, while a quitclaim deed has no such warranty. Explanation: in Florida real estate, a general warranty deed provides a full warranty of clear title, guaranteeing the buyer that the property is free from any claims or liens. A quitclaim deed, on the other hand, transfers whatever interest the grantor has with no warranty of clear title. Question 9. Scenario: Mark wants to buy a home in a flood zone in Florida. What disclosures are required by law? A. No disclosures are required for flood zones. B. Disclosure of the property's flood history and insurance requirements. C. Only disclosure of the property's past flood damages. D. Information about local wildlife in the flood zone. Answer: B. Disclosure of the property's flood history and insurance requirements. Explanation: when buying a home in a flood zone in Florida, the law requires disclosure of the property's flood history and any flood insurance requirements. This information is crucial for a buyer to understand the risks and costs associated with living in a flood zone. Question 10. Describe the process and requirements for obtaining a Florida real estate broker license. A. Completion of a high school diploma and passing a basic skills test. B. Fulfilling education requirements, passing a state exam, and having experience as a sales associate. C. Being a Florida resident for at least 2 years. D. Payment of a license fee with no other requirements. Answer: B. Fulfilling education requirements, passing a state exam, and having experience as a sales associate. Explanation: to obtain a Florida real estate broker license, an individual must fulfill specific education requirements, pass a state-administered exam, and have experience working as a licensed real estate sales associate. Question 11. What are the fiduciary duties of a real estate broker in Florida? A. To find the highest paying buyer for a property. B. Duties of loyalty, confidentiality, disclosure, obedience, and accounting. C. To advertise properties in as many channels as possible. D. To prioritize the broker's interests over the client's. Answer: B. Duties of loyalty, confidentiality, disclosure, obedience, and accounting. Explanation: in Florida, a real estate broker's fiduciary duties include loyalty, confidentiality, full disclosure, obedience to lawful instructions, and accountability in handling funds and transactions on behalf of their clients. Question 12. Explain tenancy by the entirety and its significance in Florida real estate. A. A form of joint tenancy reserved for married couples with the right of survivorship. B. A rental agreement between a landlord and a single tenant. C. A commercial property lease agreement. D. A temporary occupancy arrangement for vacation properties. Answer: A. A form of joint tenancy reserved for married couples with the right of survivorship. Explanation: tenancy by the entirety in Florida real estate is a form of joint ownership reserved for married couples, where each owns the entire property with the right of survivorship. Upon the death of one spouse, the surviving spouse automatically becomes the sole owner of the property. Question 13. Define and differentiate between joint tenancy and tenancy in common. A. Joint tenancy is for commercial properties, while tenancy in common is for residential properties. B. In joint tenancy, tenants have equal shares with the right of survivorship. In tenancy in common, shares can be unequal without survivorship rights. C. Joint tenancy requires a family relationship, whereas tenancy in common does not. D. There is no legal difference between the two. Answer B. In joint tenancy, tenants have equal shares with the right of survivorship. In tenancy in common, shares can be unequal without survivorship rights. Explanation. Joint tenancy is a form of property co-ownership where tenants have equal shares and the right of survivorship, meaning upon one tenant's death, their share passes to the remaining tenants. Tenancy in common allows co-owners to have unequal shares, and there are no survivorship rights. Shares pass according to the owner's will or estate plan. Question 14. What is the purpose of the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA, in real estate transactions? A. To provide tax breaks for first-time homebuyers. B. To regulate the real estate settlement process, ensuring transparency and fair practices. C. To set fixed commission rates for real estate agents. D. To expedite the real estate transaction process. Answer B. To regulate the real estate settlement process, ensuring transparency and fair practices. Explanation. The Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA, aims to regulate the real estate settlement process, requiring disclosures to buyers and sellers, and prohibiting kickbacks and unearned fees to ensure transparency and fair practices in real estate transactions. Question 15. Scenario. A property in Florida is sold with an undisclosed sinkhole issue. What legal recourse does the buyer have? A. The buyer must accept the property as is. B. The buyer can request a new sinkhole inspection only. C. The buyer can seek legal action for non-disclosure against the seller. D. No legal recourse is available for natural phenomena. Answer C. The buyer can seek legal action for non-disclosure against the seller. Explanation. If a property in Florida is sold with an undisclosed sinkhole issue, the buyer may have legal recourse against the seller for failing to disclose a material fact about the property. The seller's non-disclosure could be grounds for rescission of the sale or damages. Question 16. Outline the key provisions of the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, as it applies to Florida real estate. A. The ADA requires all properties to be retrofitted for accessibility. B. It only applies to government-owned properties. C. It mandates that all real estate agents have ADA certification. D. Requires reasonable accommodations in public and commercial spaces for accessibility. Answer. D. Requires reasonable accommodations in public and commercial spaces for accessibility. Explanation. The Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, in the context of Florida real estate, mandates that public and commercial spaces provide reasonable accommodations to ensure accessibility for individuals with disabilities. This includes accessible design features and modifications in buildings and facilities. Question 17. What are riparian rights in Florida, and how do they affect property owners? A. The rights to build structures on the coastline. B. The rights related to the use and enjoyment of water bodies adjacent to land. C. The rights to restrict public access to private beaches. D. The rights to exclusively own and use underground water resources. Answer B. The rights related to the use and enjoyment of water bodies adjacent to land. Explanation. Riparian rights in Florida refer to the rights of property owners whose land is adjacent to a water body. These rights allow the landowner to use and enjoy the water, which may include access for boating, fishing, and other activities, subject to certain restrictions and regulations. Question 18. Explain the concept of adverse possession under Florida law. A. The legal process of evicting a tenant. B. The acquisition of title to land through possession for a statutory period under certain conditions. C. Forcing the sale of a property to pay off a debt. D. The right of a landlord to confiscate a tenant's property for unpaid rent. Answer: B. The acquisition of title to land through possession for a statutory period under certain conditions. Explanation: Adverse possession in Florida allows an individual to acquire title to a piece of land by openly occupying and using it for a continuous and uninterrupted statutory period, under specific conditions, without the legal owner's permission. Question 19. Scenario: An agent in Florida is accused of not disclosing a conflict of interest. What are the possible consequences? A. The agent may receive a bonus for efficient negotiation. B. There are no consequences as long as the sale is completed. C. Possible legal action and loss of real estate license. D. Mandatory disclosure in future transactions only. Answer: C. Possible legal action and loss of real estate license. Explanation: If an agent in Florida fails to disclose a conflict of interest, they may face serious consequences, including potential legal action for breach of fiduciary duty and the possibility of losing their real estate license for unethical behavior. Question 20. What is the impact of the Fair Housing Act on real estate practices in Florida? A. It restricts the sale of houses to certain protected classes. B. It mandates equal housing opportunities regardless of race, religion, or other protected characteristics. C. The act only applies to rental properties. D. It requires all properties to meet certain energy efficiency standards. Answer: B. It mandates equal housing opportunities regardless of race, religion, or other protected characteristics. Explanation: The Fair Housing Act impacts real estate practices in Florida by mandating equal housing opportunities for all individuals, prohibiting discrimination in the sale, rental, and financing of dwellings based on race, color, religion, sex, disability, familial status, or national origin. Question 21. Define escrow account and its significance in Florida real estate transactions. A. A savings account for real estate agents. B. An account used to hold funds temporarily during a real estate transaction. C. A mandatory account for property taxes. D. An account for the exclusive use of property developers. Answer: B. An account used to hold funds temporarily during a real estate transaction. Explanation: An escrow account in Florida real estate is used to hold funds temporarily on behalf of the buyer and seller during a real estate transaction. This ensures that the money is securely held until the transaction's terms are fulfilled. Question 22. Scenario: Carla, a real estate broker, has entered into a dual agency relationship without informed consent from both parties. What are the potential legal consequences for Carla in Florida? A. A financial reward for efficient brokerage. B. Mandatory disclosure of the dual agency in future dealings. C. Legal repercussions and possible revocation of her license. D. No consequences as dual agency is common. Answer: C. Legal repercussions and possible revocation of her license. Explanation: Engaging in dual agency without informed consent from both parties is a violation of Florida real estate regulations. Carla could face legal repercussions, including fines, lawsuits, and possibly the revocation of her real estate license. Question 23. What are the legal requirements for disclosing a property's history of sinkholes in Florida? A. No disclosure is required. B. Disclosure only if the sinkhole is visible. C. Mandatory disclosure of any known sinkhole activity. D. Disclosure only upon direct inquiry by the buyer. Answer: C. Mandatory disclosure of any known sinkhole activity. Explanation: In Florida, sellers are legally required to disclose any known sinkhole activity or remediation related to the property. This is a critical aspect of the property's history that could significantly impact its value and safety. Question 24. Explain the difference between actual eviction and constructive eviction in Florida real estate law. A. Actual eviction involves legal action, while constructive eviction is a verbal agreement. B. Actual eviction is physical removal of a tenant, while constructive eviction is making conditions unbearable. C. There is no legal difference in Florida. D. Constructive eviction involves law enforcement, while actual eviction does not. Answer. B. Actual eviction is physical removal of a tenant, while constructive eviction is making conditions unbearable. Explanation. Actual eviction in Florida involves the physical removal of a tenant from a property by legal means. Constructive eviction, on the other hand, occurs when a landlord makes living conditions so unbearable that the tenant is forced to leave. Question 25. What is the function of the National Association of Realtors in the context of Florida real estate? A. To provide financial assistance to homeowners. B. To regulate and license real estate agents. C. To advocate for real estate professionals and establish ethical standards. D. To set property prices and market trends. Answer. C. To advocate for real estate professionals and establish ethical standards. Explanation. The National Association of Realtors functions as an advocacy group for real estate professionals, promoting ethical standards and best practices within the industry. It is a key organization in establishing guidelines and supporting the interests of its members. Question 26. Scenario. Bob wants to sell his house, which has an unpermitted addition. What must he disclose to potential buyers according to Florida law? A. The original blueprints of the house. B. The addition and the fact that it was unpermitted. C. The cost of the addition. D. Nothing, as the addition is part of the house. Answer. B. The addition and the fact that it was unpermitted. Explanation. Florida law requires sellers like Bob to disclose any unpermitted additions or renovations to potential buyers. Failing to disclose this information can lead to legal consequences and disputes post-sale. Question 27. How does Florida law address the issue of lead-based paint in residential properties? A. No specific laws regarding lead-based paint. B. Mandatory removal of lead-based paint before any property transaction. C. Disclosure requirement for homes built before 1978. D. Lead-based paint is banned in all properties. Answer. C. Disclosure requirement for homes built before 1978. Explanation. Florida law requires sellers to disclose the presence of lead-based paint in homes built before 1978. This is in line with federal law, as lead-based paint poses significant health risks, particularly to children. Question 28. What is a 1031 exchange in real estate, and how is it utilized in Florida? A. A method to exchange real estate licenses between agents. B. A tax-deferred exchange of investment properties. C. A swap of residential properties between homeowners. D. A mandatory exchange policy for commercial properties. Answer. B. A tax-deferred exchange of investment properties. Explanation. A 1031 exchange in Florida real estate allows investors to defer capital gains taxes by exchanging one investment property for another. This provision encourages reinvestment in the real estate market. Question 29. Describe the implications of the Truth in Lending Act for Florida real estate transactions. A. It requires all real estate transactions to be paid in cash. B. It mandates full disclosure of the terms and conditions of mortgages. C. It sets fixed interest rates for all mortgage loans. D. It prohibits lending for real estate transactions. Answer. B. It mandates full disclosure of the terms and conditions of mortgages. Explanation. The Truth in Lending Act impacts Florida real estate transactions by requiring lenders to provide borrowers with clear and understandable information about the terms and conditions of their mortgage loans, ensuring transparency in lending practices. Question 30. Scenario. Susan, a real estate agent in Florida, discovers that a listed property has a history of termite infestation. What are her obligations regarding disclosure? A. Disclose the infestation history only to interested buyers. B. Disclose the infestation history to all potential buyers. C. Only disclose if the infestation caused structural damage. D. No obligation to disclose past infestations. Answer. B. Disclose the infestation history to all potential buyers. Explanation. In Florida, real estate agents like Susan are obligated to disclose material facts, such as a history of termite infestation, to all potential buyers. Failure to disclose can result in legal consequences and undermine the transaction's integrity. Question 31. Define the term net listing and discuss its legality in Florida. A. An agreement where the agent keeps all proceeds above a set price. Legal in Florida. B. A listing that only appears on a single website. Illegal in Florida. C. A type of listing where the agent sets the property price. Legal in Florida. D. An agreement where the agent's commission is the difference between the sale price and the owner's desired price. Illegal in Florida. Answer. D. An agreement where the agent's commission is the difference between the sale price and the owner's desired price. Illegal in Florida. Explanation. A net listing is an agreement where the real estate agent's commission is the difference between the sale price and the owner's desired price. This type of listing is illegal in Florida, as it can create a conflict of interest and potential for fraud. Question 32. What are the primary responsibilities of a property manager in Florida? A. To increase property value through renovations. B. Handling day-to-day operations, maintenance, and tenant relations for a property. C. To sell properties on behalf of owners. D. Managing property taxes and insurance only. Answer. B. Handling day-to-day operations, maintenance, and tenant relations for a property. Explanation. In Florida, a property manager's primary responsibilities include managing the day-to-day operations of a property, maintaining the property, and handling tenant relations, including rent collection and addressing tenant concerns. Question 33. Scenario. A tenant in Florida discovers mold in a rental property. What are the landlord's obligations under Florida law? A. No obligation to address mold issues. B. To provide a dehumidifier to the tenant. C. To inspect and remediate the mold issue promptly. D. To relocate the tenant to a hotel until the mold is removed. Answer. C. To inspect and remediate the mold issue promptly. Explanation. Under Florida law, a landlord is obligated to maintain the rental property in habitable condition, which includes inspecting and remediating mold issues promptly to ensure the health and safety of tenants. Question 34. Explain the concept of condominium conversion in Florida real estate. A. The process of converting rental apartments into condominium units for sale. B. Changing a condominium into a rental apartment complex. C. The demolition of condominiums for new development. D. Converting commercial buildings into residential condominiums. Answer. A. The process of converting rental apartments into condominium units for sale. Explanation. Condominium conversion in Florida real estate involves the process of transforming rental apartment buildings into condominium units that can be sold individually. This process requires adherence to specific legal and regulatory procedures. Question 35. What is the significance of the Florida Fair Housing Act for real estate professionals? A. It mandates a minimum number of property sales per year. B. It requires real estate professionals to have additional licensing. C. It prohibits discrimination in housing based on race, color, national origin, sex, disability, and familial status. D. It applies only to commercial real estate transactions. Answer C. It prohibits discrimination in housing based on race, color, national origin, sex, disability, and familial status. Explanation: the Florida Fair Housing Act is significant for real estate professionals as it prohibits discrimination in housing practices based on race, color, national origin, sex, disability, and familial status, ensuring equal housing opportunities for all. Question 36. Scenario: a buyer in Florida purchases a home, only to find out later that it is in a designated flood zone, which was not disclosed. What are the buyer's rights? A. The buyer has no rights as flood zone information is public. B. The right to sue the seller for non-disclosure of a material fact. C. The right to cancel the purchase and receive a full refund. D. The buyer must accept the situation as it is. Answer: B. The right to sue the seller for non-disclosure of a material fact. Explanation: in Florida, if a buyer purchases a home and later discovers it is in a flood zone that was not disclosed, they have the right to take legal action against the seller for non-disclosure of a material fact, which can affect the value and usability of the property. Question 37. Describe the process and criteria for a property to be declared historic in Florida. A. Any property over 50 years old is automatically declared historic. B. A property must be associated with a significant historical event or person. C. The property owner's request to the state government. D. All properties in downtown areas are considered historic. Answer: B. A property must be associated with a significant historical event or person. Explanation: for a property to be declared historic in Florida, it must meet specific criteria, such as being associated with a significant historical event, person, or exemplifying a particular architectural style. This designation is typically determined by state or local historic preservation authorities. Question 38. What are the legal ramifications of practicing real estate without a license in Florida? A. A warning for the first offense. B. It is allowed for private property sales. C. Legal penalties, including fines and potential criminal charges. D. Mandatory completion of a real estate course. Answer: C. Legal penalties, including fines and potential criminal charges. Explanation: practicing real estate without a license in Florida can result in serious legal ramifications, including fines and potential criminal charges. Real estate practice in Florida is regulated, and operating without a license is a violation of state law. Question 39. Scenario: Greg, a Florida real estate broker, is accused of violating antitrust laws. What practices are typically considered antitrust violations in real estate? A. Providing too many property listings. B. Price fixing, boycotting competitors, or allocating markets or customers. C. Selling properties below market value. D. Using aggressive marketing tactics. Answer: B. Price fixing, boycotting competitors, or allocating markets or customers. Explanation: in the real estate industry, antitrust violations typically include practices like price fixing, agreeing with competitors to set prices, boycotting competitors, or allocating markets or customers. Such practices restrict competition and are illegal. Question 40. How does Florida law regulate the advertising of real estate services and properties? A. It requires all advertisements to be in Spanish and English. B. Advertising is not regulated under Florida law. C. It mandates that all property ads show the exact property price. D. Requires truthful, clear, and non-deceptive advertising practices. Answer: D. Requires truthful, clear, and non-deceptive advertising practices. Explanation: Florida law regulates the advertising of real estate services and properties by requiring that all advertising be truthful, clear, and non-deceptive. This regulation ensures that consumers are not misled by false or ambiguous advertisements. Question 41. What are the continuing education requirements set by the FREC for real estate brokers in Florida? A. No continuing education is required. B. 14 hours of continuing education every 2 years. C. A single refresher course every 5 years. D. Continuous education throughout the year. Answer. B. 14 hours of continuing education every 2 years. Explanation. The Florida Real Estate Commission, FREC, requires real estate brokers to complete 14 hours of continuing education every 2 years. This requirement is designed to keep professionals updated on the latest industry practices and legal changes. Question 42. Scenario. A real estate agent in Florida is found guilty of misrepresentation. What potential penalties could they face? A. A written warning. B. Revocation or suspension of their real estate license and possible fines. C. Mandatory community service. D. Compulsory attendance in ethics classes only. Answer. B. Revocation or suspension of their real estate license and possible fines. Explanation. If a real estate agent in Florida is found guilty of misrepresentation, they could face severe penalties, including the revocation or suspension of their real estate license, as well as potential fines. This is to maintain high ethical standards in the real estate industry. Question 43. Define market value and explain its importance in real estate appraisals in Florida. A. The highest price a property can fetch in the market. B. The average price of properties in the neighborhood. C. The price set by the real estate agent. D. The most probable price a property would bring in a fair sale. Answer. D. The most probable price a property would bring in a fair sale. Explanation. Market value in real estate refers to the most probable price a property would bring in a competitive and open market under fair sale conditions. It's crucial in appraisals as it helps determine a property's true worth based on current market conditions. Question 44. Explain the right of first refusal clause commonly found in real estate contracts in Florida. A. The right to be the first to view a property. B. The seller's right to refuse the first offer. C. The tenant's right to refuse property inspections. D. A contractual right to match or exceed an offer before the property is sold to someone else. Answer. D. A contractual right to match or exceed an offer before the property is sold to someone else. Explanation. The right of first refusal in a real estate contract gives an individual the first opportunity to purchase or lease a property before the owner can sell or lease it to someone else. If an offer is received, the holder of this right has the option to match or exceed the offer. Question 45. Scenario. Tom, a Florida real estate broker, is preparing an offer on a commercial property for his client. The client wants to ensure the deal includes a contingency clause for obtaining suitable financing. How should Tom proceed? A. Ignore the request as it's not a standard practice. B. Prepare the offer with a financing contingency clause. C. Advise the client to pay in cash instead. D. Prepare a separate agreement for the financing. Answer. B. Prepare the offer with a financing contingency clause. Explanation. Tom should include a financing contingency clause in the offer, which stipulates that the offer is contingent upon the buyer obtaining financing under specified terms. This protects the buyer if they are unable to secure suitable financing. Question 46. What are the key differences between residential and commercial real estate transactions in Florida? A. No significant differences exist. B. Different tax implications and complexities in contracts. C. Only commercial transactions require a real estate agent. D. Residential transactions are always cash-based. Answer. B. Different tax implications and complexities in contracts. Explanation. Residential and commercial real estate transactions in Florida differ in terms of tax implications, contract complexities, zoning laws, and financing methods. Commercial transactions tend to be more complex and involve different considerations compared to residential deals. Question 47. Describe the concept of agency in Florida real estate law. A. The formation of a new real estate agency. B. The legal relationship between a real estate agent and their client. C. A government body regulating real estate transactions. D. The process of hiring real estate agents. Answer. B. The legal relationship between a real estate agent and their client. Explanation. In Florida real estate law, agency refers to the legal relationship established between a real estate agent and their client, where the agent represents the client in real estate transactions. This relationship involves fiduciary duties and obligations. Question 48. Scenario. A property owner in Florida wants to subdivide their land. What are the legal requirements and steps they must follow? A. No legal requirements are needed for subdividing land. B. Obtaining approval from local zoning authorities and complying with subdivision regulations. C. Only notifying the neighbors. D. Paying a subdivision tax. Answer. B. Obtaining approval from local zoning authorities and complying with subdivision regulations. Explanation. To subdivide land in Florida, the property owner must obtain approval from local zoning authorities and follow specific subdivision regulations. This typically involves submitting a plan, ensuring compliance with local land use and zoning laws, and possibly making infrastructure improvements. Question 49. Define cap rate in the context of real estate investment and its significance in Florida. A. The maximum price a property can reach in the market. B. A fixed rate for calculating property taxes. C. The rate of return on a real estate investment property based on the income it is expected to generate. D. A regulation on the maximum commission rates for agents. Answer. C. The rate of return on a real estate investment property based on the income it is expected to generate. Explanation. The capitalization rate, or cap rate, is a key metric in real estate investment, representing the rate of return on a property based on its expected rental income. It's significant for investors in Florida as it helps assess the profitability and risk of an investment property. Question 50. What are the specific legal requirements for a Florida real estate agent when representing a buyer versus a seller? A. There are no specific requirements. The duties are the same. B. Agents representing buyers must have a separate license. C. Different fiduciary duties with loyalty to their respective clients. D. Agents representing sellers are not allowed to negotiate prices. Answer. C. Different fiduciary duties with loyalty to their respective clients. Explanation. When representing a buyer or seller, a Florida real estate agent has different fiduciary duties. They must act with loyalty and in the best interest of their respective client, whether it's the buyer or the seller, and adhere to specific obligations based on the nature of their representation. Question 51. Scenario. A buyer in Florida discovers significant undisclosed defects after purchasing a property. What legal actions are available to the buyer? A. Legal action for breach of contract or fraud against the seller. B. No legal action. The buyer should have inspected the property more thoroughly. C. Requesting a refund from the real estate agent. D. Filing a complaint with the local homeowners association. Answer. A. Legal action for breach of contract or fraud against the seller. Explanation. If a buyer in Florida discovers undisclosed defects after purchase, they may have grounds for legal action against the seller for breach of contract or fraud, especially if the seller knew of the defects and intentionally failed to disclose them. Question 52. How does Florida's homestead law protect homeowners? A. By providing free home insurance. B. By offering tax credits for all homeowners. C. By protecting the home from certain types of creditors and reducing property taxes. D. By preventing the sale of the home under any circumstances. Answer. C. By protecting the home from certain types of creditors and reducing property taxes. Explanation. Florida's homestead law provides significant protection to homeowners by safeguarding their primary residence from certain types of creditors and offering property tax exemptions, thereby securing the homeowner's interest in their primary dwelling. Question 53. Define fiduciary duty and its importance in the relationship between a real estate agent and their client in Florida. A. A duty to maximize profit for the real estate agency. B. Legal and ethical obligations to act in the best interest of the client. C. The duty to complete transactions as quickly as possible. D. A formal agreement for exclusive representation. Answer B. Legal and ethical obligations to act in the best interest of the client. Explanation. Fiduciary duty in the context of Florida real estate is the legal and ethical obligation of a real estate agent to act in the best interests of their client. This includes loyalty, confidentiality, full disclosure, and accountability, ensuring that the client's interests are paramount. Question 54. Scenario. An investor is interested in purchasing a historic building in Florida. What specific considerations and restrictions should they be aware of? A. Historic buildings can only be used for residential purposes. B. There are no specific considerations or restrictions. C. Requirements for maintaining the building's historical integrity and possible restrictions on alterations. D. Mandatory conversion into a museum or public space. Answer. C. Requirements for maintaining the building's historical integrity and possible restrictions on alterations. Explanation. When purchasing a historic building in Florida, an investor must be aware of the requirements to maintain the property's historical integrity. This may include restrictions on alterations, renovations, and the need to adhere to specific preservation guidelines. Question 55. What is title insurance, and why is it important in Florida real estate transactions? A. Insurance that covers property damages. B. A policy that insures against losses from defects in the title or from liens. C. Mandatory insurance for all real estate agents. D. Insurance covering missed mortgage payments. Answer. B. A policy that insures against losses from defects in the title or from liens. Explanation. Title insurance is a crucial component of real estate transactions in Florida, providing protection against losses due to title defects, liens, or other issues that might not be discovered during the initial title search. It safeguards both buyers and lenders from potential financial losses. Question 56. Explain the term bundle of rights in property ownership in Florida. A. A collection of legal rights of the landlord over the tenant. B. Rights to use communal facilities in condominiums. C. A set of rights associated with property ownership, including right to possess, use, and dispose. D. Exclusive rights to modify the property without government permission. Answer. C. A set of rights associated with property ownership, including right to possess, use, and dispose. Explanation. The bundle of rights in property ownership in Florida includes several rights, such as the right to possess, control, enjoy, exclude others from, and dispose of the property. These rights are fundamental to property ownership and dictate what owners can legally do with their property. Question 57. Scenario. A Florida homeowner wants to sell their house, which has a mortgage with a due on sale clause. What does this mean for the sale process? A. The sale is prohibited until the mortgage is fully paid. B. The mortgage must be transferred to the buyer. C. The mortgage balance becomes due upon the sale of the property. D. The seller must pay a penalty for selling the property. Answer. C. The mortgage balance becomes due upon the sale of the property. Explanation. A due on sale clause in a mortgage contract means that when the property is sold, the entire balance of the mortgage becomes due. The seller will need to pay off the mortgage balance at or before closing, typically with the proceeds from the sale. Question 58. What is a real estate brokerage in Florida, and what are its key functions? A. A government agency that regulates real estate transactions. B. A company that exclusively handles property appraisals. C. A business that facilitates the buying, selling, leasing, and management of properties. D. A financial institution that provides real estate loans. Answer: C. A business that facilitates the buying, selling, leasing, and management of properties. Explanation: a real estate brokerage in Florida is a business entity that facilitates real estate transactions, including the buying, selling, leasing, and management of properties. It typically employs real estate agents and brokers who work on behalf of clients in these transactions. Question 59. Define constructive fraud in the context of Florida real estate practices. A. A deliberate attempt to deceive clients for financial gain. B. Misrepresentation or concealment of a material fact without intent to deceive. C. Failing to disclose a commission percentage. D. A legal strategy to delay contract signing. Answer: B. Misrepresentation or concealment of a material fact without intent to deceive. Explanation: constructive fraud in Florida real estate involves the misrepresentation or concealment of a material fact without the intent to deceive. It occurs when a real estate professional should have known that a statement was false, or when they fail to disclose information that they are obligated to share. Question 60. Scenario: a commercial property in Florida is being sold with an existing tenant who has a long-term lease. What rights does the tenant have in this situation? A. The tenant must vacate the property immediately. B. The tenant has the right to terminate the lease early without penalty. C. The tenant's lease continues under the new property owner. D. The tenant must renegotiate the lease terms with the new owner. Answer: C. The tenant's lease continues under the new property owner. Explanation: in Florida, when a commercial property is sold with an existing tenant who has a long-term lease, the tenant's rights remain protected. The lease continues as agreed upon, with the new property owner stepping into the role of the landlord under the existing lease terms. Question 61. Define exclusive right to sell listing and its implications in Florida real estate. A. A listing where the seller retains the right to find a buyer. B. An agreement where only the property owner can sell the property. C. A listing agreement granting one broker the exclusive right to sell the property. D. A contract that prohibits the sale of the property for a certain period. Answer: C. A listing agreement granting one broker the exclusive right to sell the property. Explanation: an exclusive right to sell listing in Florida real estate is a listing agreement where the seller grants one broker the exclusive right to sell the property. This means that regardless of who finds the buyer, the listing broker will earn the commission. Question 62. Scenario: Lisa, a Florida real estate agent, discovers that her client's home is located in a designated historical district. What additional considerations must she take into account when listing this property? A. The property can only be sold to historical preservationists. B. No additional considerations are necessary. C. Potential restrictions on renovations and the need for special permits. D. Mandatory conversion to a commercial property. Answer: C. Potential restrictions on renovations and the need for special permits. Explanation: when listing a property in a designated historical district in Florida, Lisa must consider potential restrictions on renovations and alterations. Properties in historical districts may require special permits and approvals for any changes to preserve their historical integrity. Question 63. What is a purchase money mortgage and how is it used in Florida real estate transactions? A. A mortgage provided by a government agency. B. A mortgage obtained from a bank for property purchase. C. A mortgage issued by the seller to the buyer as part of the purchase price. D. A temporary mortgage used during the construction phase. Answer: C. A mortgage issued by the seller to the buyer as part of the purchase price. Explanation: A purchase money mortgage in Florida real estate transactions is a mortgage provided by the seller to the buyer as part of the transaction. This type of mortgage is used as a financing tool, where the seller extends credit to the buyer to cover part of the purchase price. Question 64. Explain the implications of the Florida Residential Landlord-tenant Act on rental agreements. A. The act only applies to commercial leases. B. It sets standardized rental prices. C. It outlines the rights and responsibilities of landlords and tenants in residential leases. D. It requires all rental agreements to be for a minimum of 1 year. Answer. C. It outlines the rights and responsibilities of landlords and tenants in residential leases. Explanation. The Florida Residential Landlord-tenant Act provides a framework for rental agreements in residential leases. It outlines the rights and responsibilities of both landlords and tenants, including aspects related to rent, lease terms, maintenance, and the handling of security deposits. Question 65. Scenario. A Florida property is listed as having a cloud on the title. What does this mean, and how can it be resolved? A. It means the property has weather-related issues, resolved through repairs. B. A cloud on the title indicates unresolved legal claims or disputes, resolved through a quiet title action. C. It's a term for properties in flood-prone areas, resolved with flood insurance. D. It refers to unclear property boundaries, resolved by a new survey. Answer. B. A cloud on the title indicates unresolved legal claims or disputes, resolved through a quiet title action. Explanation. A cloud on the title in Florida real estate refers to any unresolved legal claim or dispute that may cast doubt on the property's ownership. It can be resolved through a legal process known as a quiet title action, which clears any claims and establishes clear ownership. Question 66. What is the significance of zoning laws in Florida real estate, and how do they impact property usage? A. Zoning laws are only advisory and have no legal impact. B. They dictate the types of buildings and activities allowed in specific areas. C. Zoning laws determine property prices. D. They only apply to commercial properties. Answer. B. They dictate the types of buildings and activities allowed in specific areas. Explanation. Zoning laws in Florida are crucial as they dictate how properties in specific areas can be used. These laws determine the types of buildings that can be constructed, the activities allowed, and can include residential, commercial, industrial, and agricultural zones, among others. Question 67. Define appraisal and its purpose in the context of Florida real estate. A. A legal document transferring property ownership. B. An evaluation to determine a property's fair market value. C. A background check on potential buyers. D. An inspection for property defects. Answer. B. An evaluation to determine a property's fair market value. Explanation. An appraisal in Florida real estate is a professional evaluation conducted to determine a property's fair market value. It is an essential part of most real estate transactions, as it provides an objective estimate of the property's worth based on various factors, such as location, condition, and market trends. Question 68. Scenario. A real estate broker in Florida is accused of not providing an accurate comparative market analysis, CMA, for a property. What are the potential repercussions? A. The broker may receive a bonus for efficiency. B. No repercussions as CMAs are not legally required. C. Possible legal action for misrepresentation and professional repercussions. D. Mandatory retraining in property valuation. Answer. C. Possible legal action for misrepresentation and professional repercussions. Explanation. If a real estate broker in Florida provides an inaccurate comparative market analysis, CMA, they could face potential legal action for misrepresentation, especially if it leads to a financial loss or damages. Additionally, there may be professional repercussions, such as disciplinary actions by the real estate board. Question 69. What are common interest ownership communities and how are they regulated in Florida? A. Communities where properties are jointly owned by all residents. B. Residential developments with shared amenities, regulated by homeowners associations. C. Government-owned housing developments. D. Communities with no property ownership rights. Answer: B. Residential developments with shared amenities, regulated by homeowners associations. Explanation: common interest ownership communities in Florida are residential developments where homeowners share amenities and common areas. These communities are typically regulated by homeowners associations, HOAs, that establish and enforce rules and manage shared expenses. Question 70. Describe the concept of time is of the essence in Florida real estate contracts. A. A clause stating the contract has no expiration date. B. A statement that the timing of contract performance is not important. C. A clause indicating that strict adherence to deadlines in the contract is essential. D. A provision allowing for flexible contract deadlines. Answer: C. A clause indicating that strict adherence to deadlines in the contract is essential. Explanation: the time is of the essence clause in Florida real estate contracts signifies that strict adherence to specific deadlines and dates outlined in the contract is crucial. This clause emphasizes that any delays or failures to meet these deadlines can be considered a breach of contract. Question 71. Scenario: a buyer in Florida is interested in a property with an encroachment from a neighboring property. What are the implications for the buyer? A. The buyer must accept the property as is with no legal recourse. B. The encroachment may lead to legal disputes or the need to renegotiate property boundaries. C. The buyer automatically gains ownership of the encroached land. D. Encroachment has no implications. It's a common occurrence in Florida. Answer: B. The encroachment may lead to legal disputes or the need to renegotiate property boundaries. Explanation: in Florida, if a property has an encroachment from a neighboring property, it can lead to legal disputes or the need for renegotiation of property boundaries. The buyer should address this issue before finalizing the purchase to avoid future complications. Question 72. How does the Florida Civil Rights Act complement the Federal Fair Housing Act in combating discrimination in real estate? A. It only applies to commercial real estate. B. Provides additional protections, including state-level enforcement of anti-discrimination laws. C. It focuses solely on environmental discrimination. D. The Florida Civil Rights Act has no relation to real estate practices. Answer: B. Provides additional protections, including state-level enforcement of anti-discrimination laws. Explanation: the Florida Civil Rights Act complements the Federal Fair Housing Act by providing additional protections against discrimination in real estate transactions. It allows for state-level enforcement of anti-discrimination laws, ensuring fair housing practices within Florida. Question 73. What is property tax portability, and how does it work in Florida? A. The ability to defer property taxes indefinitely. B. Transferring accrued property tax savings from one property to another. C. A method of calculating property taxes based on port location. D. Exemption from property taxes for properties near ports. Answer: B. Transferring accrued property tax savings from one property to another. Explanation: property tax portability in Florida allows homeowners to transfer their accrued property tax savings, Save Our Homes benefit, from one property to another. This can result in significant tax savings, especially for those moving to a new primary residence within the state. Question 74. Scenario: a real estate agent in Florida fails to disclose her relationship with the property seller. What are the potential legal consequences? A. A bonus for keeping the relationship confidential. B. Mandatory disclosure in future transactions. C. Legal action for breach of fiduciary duty and possible license revocation. D. No consequences, as Florida law does not require disclosure. Answer C. Legal action for breach of fiduciary duty and possible license revocation. Explanation. If a real estate agent in Florida fails to disclose a personal relationship with a property seller, they can face legal consequences for breaching their fiduciary duty. This could include lawsuits, penalties, and even the revocation of their real estate license. Question 75. Describe the process of foreclosure in the context of Florida real estate law. A. A process where the government takes ownership of properties for public use. B. The legal procedure by which a lender obtains a property due to the borrower's default. C. A voluntary surrender of property by the owner to the real estate agent. D. A tax penalty for properties not sold within a year. Answer B. The legal procedure by which a lender obtains a property due to the borrower's default. Explanation. Foreclosure in Florida real estate law is a legal process where a lender can obtain ownership of a property due to the borrower's failure to make the required mortgage payments. This process involves legal proceedings and can ultimately lead to the borrower losing their home. Question 76. Define gross rent multiplier and its use in evaluating rental properties in Florida. A. A formula to calculate the total rent collected over a year. B. A tax on rental income. C. A metric used to assess the value of a rental property based on its rental income. D. A legal limit on rent increases for rental properties. Answer C. A metric used to assess the value of a rental property based on its rental income. Explanation. The gross rent multiplier, GRM, is a metric used in Florida to evaluate the value of a rental property. It is calculated by dividing the property's price by its gross rental income, providing an estimate of the property's value relative to its income potential. Question 77. Scenario. A Florida homeowner sells their property but wants to continue living in it. What type of arrangement can be made in this situation? A. The homeowner must vacate immediately upon sale. B. A leaseback arrangement where the homeowner leases the property from the new owner. C. A timeshare agreement with the new owner. D. The homeowner can stay as a guest for up to 30 days. Answer B. A leaseback arrangement where the homeowner leases the property from the new owner. Explanation. In this scenario, a leaseback arrangement can be made where the homeowner sells the property but continues to live in it by leasing it from the new owner. This allows the homeowner to free up capital from the sale while maintaining residency. Question 78. Explain wetlands regulations and their impact on real estate development in Florida. A. Wetlands regulations do not exist in Florida. B. They allow unrestricted development in wetland areas. C. Regulations that protect wetlands and may restrict development in these areas. D. A requirement that all new constructions include a wetland area. Answer C. Regulations that protect wetlands and may restrict development in these areas. Explanation. Wetlands regulations in Florida are designed to protect environmentally sensitive wetland areas. These regulations can significantly impact real estate development, potentially restricting or limiting construction and land use in designated wetland areas to preserve the ecosystem. Question 79. What are the requirements for maintaining a real estate license in Florida? A. No additional requirements after initial licensure. B. Passing an annual real estate exam. C. Completion of continuing education and adherence to ethical standards. D. Paying a yearly maintenance fee without additional education. Answer C. Completion of continuing education and adherence to ethical standards. Explanation. To maintain a real estate license in Florida, licensees are required to complete continuing education courses regularly and adhere to ethical and professional standards set by the Florida Real Estate Commission. These requirements ensure that agents and brokers remain knowledgeable and competent in their practice. Question 80. Scenario. A real estate development in Florida is found to be in violation of environmental regulations. What are the potential consequences for the developer? A. A government grant to bring the development into compliance. B. No consequences, as environmental compliance is voluntary. C. Potential fines, legal action, and remediation requirements. D. Mandatory public disclosure of the violation only. Answer C. Potential fines, legal action, and remediation requirements. Explanation: if a real estate development in Florida is found to be in violation of environmental regulations, the developer could face significant consequences, including fines, legal action, and the requirement to remediate any environmental damage. Compliance with environmental laws is crucial to avoid such repercussions.